Hello, and welcome to Python with MySQL Database. I'm your instructor, David Baker, and this video is brought to you by CreativeOnlineSchool.com. In the previous video, we learned about how to actually create tables in HTML format and display them using Python. And going forward in this video, what we're going to be learning is how to use classes to create our databases and make our lives easier. So I'm just going to use a script that I've already started creating called SQL classes. And what we're going to do inside of this script is we're going to create a class called DataB. What this DataB is going to do is set up the parameters for actually creating our database, adding tables, and also adding elements. And then we can also view table. Again, if you need to, you can go ahead and pause the video and copy this code so that you can get caught up. But I'll explain what the coding does once I am going through those portions of the class. But to start off with, we have this init function, and what this init function does is it defines the actual startup of the object database and what we have to do. So I'm just going to make some shorthand here and use self.in is equal to database name, and then we do the same thing that we've been doing is we're going to connect to the database, and we're just going to do the host is equal to our server name, the user is equal to username, and then the password is equal to password. And then we're going to create a cursor is equal to db.cursor, and then we're going to make it so that we can access this cursor inside of some of the other functions. And then we're just going to do cursor.execute and give it some SQL to actually create the database. Exists. Use our format strings here. Format self.in. And we're going to tell the server to actually use the database, to use, and then whatever database name that we give it. Format. Okay, and so this is defining what we're going to do on the initial setup. And then what we have in the add table is we have it requiring a table name and ** columns. What this ** columns does is allows us to input multiple inputs into the add tables function and does not limit it to a certain number. And what we will have to do is we'll have to enter in to columns a column name field and then also a corresponding type, so the data type for that column, just like we have to do in a normal SQL query. And this code just sets it up so that we can make the SQL query. And we do the same thing in add element, except for the values is going to be the name of the column that we're adding values into, and then we'll actually have the values later that we will add. So let's go, and then with this view table just lets us view everything that's in the table. Let's go ahead and create a new database, and we'll create an instance of database, and let's call it CreativeOnlineSchool.com, since we already have the Creative Online School database inside. And then we give it the host, which is localhost, then user, which is root, and then finally the password line. And then we'll do newbie db.add table. So the dot method is how we access each new function inside of, if it's defined inside of the class. And then we'll just create a table called new table, and then we'll add some of the column fields. So create a column named ID. We'll make it an integer, not null, and auto increment. Since it's going to be our ID field, it needs to be unique, and it's going to be our primary key. And then we'll add another field called first, where we'll just have our first names being a varchar of 40, and then we'll have last, which will be also a varchar of 40, which will contain our last names in that. And then we'll start adding elements into it. So add element, and select the table that we want, and then we just type out, so we're going to add into first the name David, and then we'll add into last the name Baker. And then we can also do another entry dot add element to new table, and we'll just do first equals creative, and then last equals school. And then we'll actually view this database. Oh, excuse me, I need to capitalize that T. Table, new table. Okay, this should have everything set up. We'll run our SQL classes, and okay, I spelled something wrong. Excuse me, I need to get this actual first and spell first correctly. It's always a problem. Okay, and there we have it. We have our SQL query of the table, and we have Baker, David, and then school creative. So it doesn't matter which way they return the columns, but I hope this video and this entire course has been helpful for you. Now that you have a more understanding of how to create databases in Python, how to access the databases, add more elements to them, and also view the databases on an HTML platform. And these classes that we have created in this video will be very helpful if you're trying to create a lot of databases very quickly and add multiple elements to them. Again, my name has been David Baker, and this video has been brought to you by CreativeOnlineSchool.com.